This is Money, Motivation, and Mike, and I am your host, Michael Wainwright, in charge of all the controls, audio engineer, Jason Wright. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. Please contact us at info@mx3.vip and find all of our content at mx3.vip and on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and icon bell to get notified of all of our new content that comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. Now, on the previous show, I did mention it's tax time and time to get into the tax season. And I'm going to give a few things on that, but a report was released this week, Jason, as a matter of fact, on Wednesday, January the 18th, that we need to discuss. And a couple things before that, by the way, two side notes. The Dallas Cowboys just threw up the biggest stinker of a playoff appearance that I can remember in my lifetime of 55 years. And also, by the way, the Texas Rangers are still the world champions.
Yes, they are.
Of the world. Okay, real quick, let's do over some tax stuff, and then I want to get to the matter at hand that is kind of hit me in the heart. When I was reading through part of the report, I decided we needed to talk about this today because it is the lifeblood of our future. First of all, 2024 filing season deadline dates. The first day you can file a tax return in 2024 for the 2023 tax season is January 29th. So just a week plus out. Tax returns this year are once again due on April 15th. And if you file an extension, you have until October 15th to file your individual tax return. This year, the IRS is expecting to have filers file 128,700,000 tax returns by the April 15th tax deadline, the first deadline. A couple of other things, child tax credits this year for 2023 is now $1,800. For 2024, they've already established it at $1,900. And for 2025, it will be $2,000, plus a new adjustment for inflation that will estimate around $100 per year to be added to your child tax credit. The earned income credit. These are the two, the child tax credit and the earned income credit are the two credits that hit the taxpaying citizens the biggest, the most, that gives you the best help. The earned income credit, it's a tax credit that's designed to help the lower middle income working citizens to keep more of their money in their pocket. In 2024, the maximum credit for a taxpayer with no qualifying children will be $600. That's up from $500 from last year. And taxpayers with one qualifying child, the maximum credit will be $3,995 for that child. Okay, that's just a little bit, and I will get back to taxes next week, and we'll also have some upcoming guests of some of the political races that are going on in Texas. As we know, it is 2024, which is election year in the United States of America. But I need to go back here, and I need to talk about something. May the 24th, 2022, at 11:28 in the morning in Uvalde, Texas. A gentleman entered that school building, an 18-year-old by the name of Salvador Romas, a former student, and he killed 21 people that morning. 19 students, 2 teachers, and 17 more were injured. Fourth graders ranging from 9, 10, and 11 years old. There were 2 9-year-olds, 15 10-year-olds, and 2 11-year-olds, and 2 teachers of 44 years of age and 48 years of age at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, May 24th, 2022. This week, the Justice Department blasts law enforcement who botched the response to the Uvalde school shooting, which came out here January the 18th. And I received a lot of my information from the Texas Tribune Daily Newsletter, which keeps readers up to date on what goes on in the essential news of the state of Texas. Before we get into that, let's go back and look at some of the things over the last 25 years. Combine High School, Combine, Colorado, April the 20th, 1999. 2 seniors in that school killed 12 students and 1 teacher in the school library. We then moved, and that was the big event that kind of got us going over the last quarter century. Sandhook Elementary, December 2012. Parkland High School, February 2018. Several incidents, and some where there was not a killing, but still an entry into a schoolhouse. As I said, the lifeblood of this country, the lifeblood of the world, is these children. And we have had, in 2022, we'd had 23 years of examples and time to get ready for May 24th, 2022. So how did what happened in Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary, how does this happen 23 years after we were introduced to violence of guns and firearms in the school building? U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said some victims in the 2022 Uvalde school shooting would have survived if Texas law enforcement officers who waited more than an hour to confront the gunman had followed generally accepted practices. And he's talking about things that you learn not only in the first week, but some in the first day of your law enforcement training when you go to police school. And I know this because I've talked to chief police in the area who have told me about some of the training that goes on as a simple individual bringing on an entry-level position into a local public police department. The long-anticipated 575-page report detailed the many catastrophic errors made on May 24, 2022. The response, but included most significant, was the officers should have immediately recognized that it was an active shooter situation and confronted the gunman, who was with victims in 2 adjoining classrooms. Garland also called the response a failure that should have not happened and said he apologized to the relatives of the 21 killed, the 17 injured, and the deadliest school shooting in Texas history. The loved ones deserved more. They deserved better, Garland said. Now, this is what he said with regard to our local law enforcement in the great state of Texas. Supervisors from the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District, the Uvalde Police Department, the Uvalde County Sheriff's Office, and the Texas Department of Public Safety demonstrated no urgency in taking control of the incident. They were slow in their communications, would cause problems and overall confusion. Now, I don't personally know any of the 380 officers. 380 officers, Jason. 380 officers. I don't personally know any of those individuals. That I don't think I do. But I personally know a lot of police officers, former police officers, chiefs, detectives, highway patrols, Texas Department of Public Safety, highway patrols. I know a lot of these people. A lot of these people are my friends. And my time on serving on the local city council, I was very involved with the police department and their well-being and what their needs were, etc. So I know the hearts and the souls of police departments. I know the hearts and souls of most of the men and women who go out there and put their life on the line every day. And some of the things that I have read in this report that came out, as I say, just a couple days ago on January the 18th, is really mind-boggling. It'll touch you right in the heart, and it'll hit you at home with Either your small children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your next-door neighbor's children, whatever it may be. But nevertheless, the report noted that since the 1999 Columbine High School shooting, American law enforcement officers have been trained to prioritize stopping the shooter while everything else, including officer safety, is secondary. Now, let me go over here and give you this one tidbit. The Texas Tribune also revealed that some officers were afraid to confront the gunman because he had a deadly AR-15 rifle. With the Washington Post, the Tribune found that medical responses also were flawed, that 2 children and a teacher were still alive when they rescued more than an hour later, but then they died due to the fact that they could not get medical attention in a timely fashion. This report actually says that some officers were afraid. They were going again with their 9mm, their pistol, whatever the ammunition was, and I guess they were just not in the mood that day to deal with an AR-15. Nevertheless, these efforts must be undertaken regardless of the equipment, the personnel available, the report found. This did not occur during the Robb Elementary School shooting. Safety was not at the top of the list. Response was not there. Maybe the equipment that they needed was not there, on and on and on. Instead, officers wrongly treated the situation as a barricaded suspect, even as children and teachers pleaded for help with the 9/11 operators. Now, I'm not going to say and quote some of the things that were said as these children. Remember, these are 10 and 11-year-olds. There are numerous kids that maybe in the 9, 10, 11-year-old category that have phones. So some of these kids had phones on them in this classroom, and they were making phone calls to these 9/11 operators. And I'm not going to, as I say, touch on what all was said. You go and look that stuff up on your own, because frankly, I don't know that I could get through it. But nevertheless, they were pleading for help. They were asking the operators what to do. And it's a traumatizing situation. But nevertheless, including that, and the Uvalde school police officer early on told law enforcement that his wife, a teacher in room 112, was shot. It took 77 minutes, listening and viewing audience, for the officers to confront the shooter. 380 officers. Now, I know they all didn't get there at the same time, but over the course of time, there ended up being 380 officers on site with one guy in a room, in 2 rooms, side by side. 77 minutes for the officers to confront the shooter. 19 students, 2 teachers, as I've already said, died that day, with 17 others that were injured in one of the country's worst school shootings ever. The report also found failures in leadership, command, and coordination, noting that more officers, including supervisors from other agencies, descended on the school. No one set up a decent command structure or took charge of the scene. The incident inside the school building was gruesome. After police breached the classroom and killed the gunman, dead victims were placed in ambulances, and children with bullet wounds were put on school buses. Now, is that backwards? Incredible. The dead in ambulances, the ones who need medical care on school buses. I would really like to know why that was done. Hopefully, there were a bunch of nurses and doctors and IVs and everything else on these school buses. Obviously, that's probably not the case. All the things that I just mentioned, and including all the medical attention that someone would need, is typically in the back of an ambulance. Some failures may have partly been a result of policy training deficiencies, the report found, noting that the school district police department suggested wrongly in a prior training that active shooter situations can transition into hostage and barricaded incidents. The DPS lacked an active shooter policy, as did the county sheriff's office and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the parent agency of the 149th Border Patrol agents, all of them who responded. The report also found that key officers, including Uvalde Police Department Acting Chief Pargas, who arrived within minutes of the shooting, had no active shooter or incident command training. The vast majority of the 380 officers from more than a dozen local, state, and federal agencies who responded to the school had never trained together. Now, I don't know why that is of importance. I would think, first of all, you know the dangers and you know the responsibilities. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. When you sign up for the police academy, the day you walk through the doors and get accepted into the police academy and start being trained for that local police office, the training, I know it's extensive. I know you probably can never have enough training, but you as a police officer, and like I say, I have family and friends that are police officers. You as a police officer, I don't know that you need a whole lot of training to know that there are 9 and 10 and 11-year-olds and adult teachers in a schoolhouse with a person with a gun, that somehow I, as a police officer, need to be in that building trying to protect these people. I don't know that has to be put into a handbook, and that me in this county and you over in that county need to get together so we can train in case something goes on in the schoolhouse so we can be prepared. I'm not for sure how the fact that they had never trained together is a big item, but they say it contributed to the difficulties in the coordination and the communication. The report said that the lack of pre-training hampered even the well-prepared agencies from functioning at their best. Jason, the great state of Texas has some of the greatest law enforcement in the history of the world, all the way back to the Texas Rangers of the 1800s, the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Texas Highway Patrols. They are recognized as some of the highest level, graded, up on the pedestal, if you will, law enforcement in the world. I mean, they are up there. The Texas Department of Public Safety police officers are always at the top of the list to become FBI agents, Secret Service agents. They're at the top of the list to go out and protect a candidate for the President of the United States. That's where we hold them. And those guys were on site as well. So, Anyway, among its recommendations, the report said that the officers should never treat an active shooter with access to victims as a barricaded suspect. Now, with that in mind, and I've also talked about the barricaded suspect with some experts, that means they have them confined into a small place where maybe even it's a negotiation tactic now going on with a negotiator. But that was not the case here with all these grade school students and teachers in a room still alive at the current moment with a gun, a firearm. The Uvalde review, the federal team reviewed more than 14,100 pieces of data and documentation, including policies, training logs, body camera footage, audio recordings, interview transcripts, and photos. The team visited Uvalde 9 times, spending 54 days there and conducting more than 260 interviews with people from more than 30 organizations and agencies, including law enforcement officers, school staff, medical personnel, survivors, and victims' families. Now, I want you to think about all of the resources and all of the money, all of the tax-paying citizen money that it cost to go and do such an extensive review on this unfortunate situation. And would the now almost 2-year past review, coming up 4 months being 2 years, and the manpower it took and the hours and all the things that I just talked about, how much did it cost to go do that? Because what the report says is the local law enforcement was not prepared for the situation. How much less would this report have been if there had been an immediate response to enter the school and take the situation over, where maybe only a couple of people got injured and no casualties, maybe where no one got injured, maybe not even the shooter would have been shot if the law enforcement had prepared. So one chain reaction turns into another, and here we are 2 years later still talking about it, just because for some reason we as a society were not prepared for what went on at Robb Elementary School May 14th, 2022 in Uvalde, Texas. May 24th, 2022. I said May 14th. We were not prepared. The material showed that the children at Robb Elementary followed active shooter protocol, while many of the officers did not. That should put a lump in your throat. And you as an officer on that site, it should make you tear up. I know it did. It's touching. It's moving that these 9 and 10 and 11-year-olds were trained to deal with such a situation, who were born 10 years plus after the Columbine High School Colorado shooting in 1999, and they were prepared. And all of the officers, maybe there were some young officers out there, since there were 380. Let's say the majority of the officers on site were alive during the Columbine High School shooting. But somehow, some way, in this high technical world that we live in, especially the United States of America, where we have everything, we weren't prepared for that day that the gentleman walked in. And you know what? That's an inappropriate word that I just used. You're not a gentleman if you'll walk into a schoolhouse and take the lives of sweet little innocent children who are in 4th grade trying to get themselves educated to come out into this corrupt world and live for the rest of their lives. I don't know, scum? I don't even know if there's a word for a person who would take the life of a child. Frankly, those that they don't even know. It's an incredible thought, something we all can think about and continue to ponder and hope and pray that the law enforcement, not only in Uvalde, not only in the state of Texas, not only in the United States, but all around this world, have gotten themselves better equipped and better prepared to deal with these situations as they arise, and they will arise sometime in the future. And before we come on the show here, as I was getting prepared to do the show today, I took extra special attention by looking at the parking lots and the entryways into some of these schoolhouses on my drive here to the office. And every one of them now has a sign up that says something to the sorts that the teachers, the principals, I guess, the counselors, the staff are armed and ready and prepared. And I've been into several schools where there are now metal detectors, that you have to go through a metal detector to attend an evening ball game. I don't know how far we can go, but however far we can go, that's where we need to go. And somewhere along the way, the Justice Department, who has blasted this law enforcement in South Texas for not being prepared needs to get better. And the training that needs to continue to go on. You know, you think about when there's a bomb threat and the bomb squad goes out and the negotiators go out. We're prepared for that, but we're not prepared all the time in certain areas to protect our youth. Some of that is for another day, but the Uvalde school shooting will be in our hearts and our souls for a long, long time. And innocent people, once again, on just their normal, everyday part of their life, of being dropped off that morning with their lunchbox and getting ready, because this happened at 11:28 in the morning, as lunches were about to start, about to get going. The playground, the things that us as grade schoolers when we were there, and grade schoolers that continue to be a part of a school district, get to do on a daily basis. I mean, I can think about some of the times that I've had on the playground, and you and I, Jason, went to the same elementary school, and some of the things that we did out there that still are part of our lives to this day, and some of the thoughts and the great times. Those kids will never get to think about that ever again. And I hate to be harsh, but is it because that some local law enforcement, and I shouldn't say local because it's the state law enforcement, the county, all of it, weren't prepared that day to handle 18-year-old Salvador Romaz as he entered the school at Robb Elementary School. Money Motivation Mike continues to bring you information, topics, stories, good stuff that we think is very, very important to you, and our ratings of our viewers and our listeners continue to go up on a daily basis. And we are so grateful that you find our content something that you think needs to be a part of your daily life. As always, you can find us at mx3.vip, and you can find and contact us at info@mx3.vip, and also on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and icon bell to get notified of all of our content, which once again comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. So maybe tonight, as you find yourself going to bed, you might say a small prayer for the families of the victims that happened May 24th, 2022 at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. So until next time, continue to live your life the right way.